All right, everybody. So, I am really excited for this segment. I cannot express to you guys enough how hyped I am. I have been reacting to this alt-right playbook series by Innuendo Studios for a little while now for one express purpose, or a few express purposes. One, it's so good I think that anyone who hasn't seen it yet needs to watch it, because it's just so entertaining and well made, right? But on top of that, it really does a good job of breaking down the fundamentals of the landscape of politics we exist in and the culture war, all the while it kind of acts as a screenshot of the time these videos were made in, using examples of old like scandals and dramas that aren't even relevant or remembered anymore, that still should be talked about because they give us, there are lessons taught by them. And I feel like this series taught so many good lessons, and the fact that these episodes from early on are so old, so few of you guys in my community have seen them, and I polled you guys, it was a very surprising amount of you guys had not seen them, that I have a responsibility to introduce you to this series. And so, we're going to be watching episode 10, the alt-right playbook, The Card Says Moops. This is one of my favorite episodes, actually. It talks about a tendency among conservatives that is possibly one of their most enraging. It's their dishonesty and their cleverness in trying to get you in gotchas and say, well, technically we're right. But let me not take away the thunder from Innuendo Studios. Let's hop right into the video. No further ado.
Whether it's hidden or whether it's shown, it's the same old papa.
Say, for the sake of argument, you're online blogging about a black journalist's commentary on marketing trends in video games, movies, and comic books. And you're saying how the vitriol in response to her fairly benign opinions reveals the deep-seated racism and misogyny in a number of fan communities, most especially those that lean right. When a right-leaning commenter pops in to say, or maybe they just actually disagree with her about marketing trends. For Christ's sake, there's no mystery here. People aren't speaking in coded language. They are telling you what they believe. She had a bad opinion. Why do you have to make it bigger than that? Why can't you ever...
Man, what a snapshot. Just as I just used as an example, what a snapshot of the times. You know, for a long time, right-wing demagoguery was all about messaging to the most radical while simultaneously staying seemingly normie enough to appeal to the normies and the centrists and the liberals even. And so a lot of these big right-wing YouTubers would even call themselves liberals. For instance, Sargon of Akkad always called himself a classical liberal, a claim that if you ever denied, he would virulently defend and get really upset at you for trying to pick apart his label. And the response was always, why can't you ever take people at their word? They are telling you what they believe. This was always a lie. It was always their way of trying to crazy make you for calling them out for what they clearly were, because a lot of people, sadly, could not recognize these radical elements within the anti-SJW movement as it was at the time, despite it being right in front of their faces.
ever take people at their word? You pause and ponder this for a moment. Heck with it. You're in a discoursing mood. Let's do this. Mr. Conservative. In order for me to take you at your words would have to show some consistency. Let me just lightning round a few questions about the reactionary web's positions on marketing trends. Do you believe that having the option to romance same-sex characters in an RPG turns the game into queer propaganda? Or do you believe that killing strippers in an action game can't be sexist because no one's making you do it? Do you believe that the pervasiveness of sexualized young women in pop culture is just there because it sells, and that's capitalism, and we all need to deal with it? Or do you believe that a franchise has an obligation to cater to its core audience even if diversifying beyond that audience is more profitable?
These are all the fundamental hypocrisies in right-wing demagoguery that we deal with and call out regularly, but it's always just different examples. It's always a new thing, and they're always hypocritical on it, and we call out the hypocrisy, like, oh, you say this, but then on this issue you say that. The fact is that this is a core mechanic in conservative messaging, to accuse the left of exactly what they are at fault for. Their desperate desire is to make it look like the left, in calling out the fact they're being strawmanned and the reality is the right are all of these things, looks like the left has no ammo. Like, all the left can do is say, no, you, because the right got ahead of insulting the left with an insult that is just a true observation about themselves. It's like if they use it as an insult against the other side before the other side can call them out on it, then they can't be criticized for it. That's basically their motto and philosophy, and it worked. And now it still works.
Do you think words are inherently harmless and only oversensitive snowflakes would care about racialized language? Or do you think it's racist if someone calls you mayonnaise boy? And as long as I've got your ear, are you the party that believes in the right to keep and bear arms because you're distrustful of all authority and what if we need to overthrow the government someday? Or do you believe that cops are civil servants and we should trust their account of events whenever they shoot a black man for looking like he might have a gun? Does optional content reveal a game's ideology? Or doesn't it? Is capitalism a defense for decisions you don't agree with? Or isn't it? Is language harmful? Or not? Do you hate authority? Or love cops and the troops? Okay, but ease off. Add some nuance. Now, I know the right is not a monolith, and maybe these arguments are contradictory because they're coming from different people. We'll call them Engelbert and Charlemagne. Maybe Engelbert's the one who thinks any institution funded by tax money is socialist and therefore bad, and Charlemagne's the one who says we should dump even more tax money into the military and thinking otherwise is un-American. But here's the thing. Y'all have very fundamentally different beliefs, and you're so passionate about them that you're entering search terms into Twitter to find people you don't even follow and aggressively disagree with them, and yet you're always yelling at me and never yelling at each other. What's that about? And I can't say how often it happens, but I know if I let Engelbert go on long enough...
Not only do these people not yell at each other, they financially support each other. They send shout-outs to each other. They support each other as a network of conservative propaganda unlike anything we've ever seen. And don't forget, on top of all of it, they're getting paid by Russia and God knows what other governments. You think they aren't getting checks from Saudi Arabia too? I guarantee you the next big expose we get are the millions of dollars in checks Saudi Arabia has been sending out to these people too. Guarantee it. Guarantee Saudi Arabia is paying out to these conservative pundits too. It's not just Russia.
He sometimes makes a Charlemagne argument, and vice versa. And I see you getting ready to say the left does the same thing, but don't change the subject. That's an extremely false equivalence, but more importantly, it doesn't answer my question. What do you actually believe? And why are you so capable of respecting disagreement between each other, yet so incapable of respecting me? Or, for that matter, a black woman? See, I don't take you at your word because I cannot form a coherent worldview out of the things you say. So forgive me if when you tell me what you believe, I don't think you're being candid with me. It kinda seems like you're playing games, and I'm the opposing team, and anyone who's against me is your ally. And you're not really taking a position, but claiming to believe in whatever would need to be true in order to score points against me. Like we're in that one episode of Seinfeld.
Who invaded Spain in the 8th century?
That's a joke.
Oh, it's easy. It's the Moors.
Oh, no.
The card says moops.
I'm so sorry, it's the Moops. The correct answer is the Moops.
That's not Moops, you jerk. It's Moors. It's a misprint.
I'm sorry, the card says Moops.
This is
Name of the video.
observation number 1, link in the down there part. Whew, it feels good calling people hypocrites. Person says B when earlier they said A, and you point out the contradiction. You don't take a position on A or B, and you still win. I see why Republicans like this so much. But that's the kind of point scoring we're here to deconstruct, so let's get analytical. There's a certain beat-you-at-your-own-gaminess to the Card Says Moops maneuver. Safe spaces are bullshit, but if you get one, I get one too. There's no such thing as systemic oppression, but if there were, I'd be oppressed. It's dismissing the rhetoric of social justice while also trying to use it against you. Claiming the Card Says Moops does not so much mean I believe the people who invaded Spain in the 8th century were literally called the Moops, but rather, you can't prove I don't believe it. Not a statement of sincere belief, simply moving a piece across the board. All in the game, yo. If they could be so nakedly honest with you and themselves to answer, what do you actually believe?
What a reference. Okay, so, peak reference. But, okay, so, the funny thing about this is it's not a way for conservatives to defend what they believe. It's them defending that they believe it. So much of the right's rhetoric is falsely bitching about something they don't really care about, and they're being hypocritical over blatantly. We call that out, And then the prerogative on their end becomes to prove they actually believe that. They don't need to prove what they believe is true. They don't have to substantiate anything or defend their real position. All they have to do then is defend that they really believe it despite the obvious hypocrisy. And so that's when they pull out the Card Says Moops method. You can't prove that I don't believe this despite it being hypocritical. You can't prove that I'm a malicious liar. That's the game.
Fully, one suspects the answer would be, what difference does it make? We're right either way. This has come to be known as postmodern conservatism, a fact I find hilarious, because in the discourse, postmodernism is a dog whistle for everything the right hates about the left. It also means Jews. Postmodern conservatism is the thinking that, at least for the purpose of argument,
means Jews.
The truth of who invaded Spain is immaterial. You have your facts, I have alternative facts. What is true? Who's to say? Regardless of what you actually believe, what you believe serving no rhetorical purpose, you are at least arguing from the position that material truth does not exist. Truth is a democracy. Whoever wins the argument decides who invaded Spain. It would be reductive to blame this pattern of thought on the internet, but its recent proliferation isn't really explicable from the rise of Chan culture. This is borrowed observation number 2, link in the down there part. 4chan didn't cause this way of thinking, but sites like...
I like how Pokemon is so fucking big that it has its own entire board on 4chan. Like, Pokemon is on the same level of, like, having its own entire section of 4chan as all papercraft and origami, photography, food and cooking, artwork or critique, music, LGBT, fitness, travel, or just, like, all these porn categories, right? Like, Pokemon alone is just that big. I feel like that's such a testament to what a massive franchise it is. Even in, like, the darkest, most, like, degenerate depths of the internet, too. Pokemon is a porn category? No, it's under Japanese culture. I doubt it's a porn category on here. They got their own porn category, or porn area on 4chan, as you can see. Or I guess here's one, too. Anyway, yeah, like, I just think it's funny that even on the most, like, decrepit parts of the internet, Pokemon is still, like, everywhere, because it's just that big of a franchise.
Like 4chan, reveal it in its most concentrated form. The two most common properties of a Chan board will be anonymity and lack of moderation, which means, among other things, that you can say whatever you want with no systemic or social repercussions. People may disagree with you, but it carries no weight. You won't be banned, you won't have your comments deleted, and because there's no way to know whether any two posts are made by the same person, you won't even get a reputation as the person with the bad opinion. The effect this has on the community is that there is no expectation in any given moment that the person on the other...
It's so crazy that back then there was this, like, real discourse about how, like, Tracer's design was woke because she wasn't sexualized enough. I don't think there's ever been a loadout of characters more Rule 34'd than the Overwatch cast. And I'm pretty certain Tracer is not an exception. Like, I'm pretty damn sure. So, like, that entire scandal the right tried to start up died so fucking hard, and I wish people remembered it and held the, like, right-wing culture warriors to account for Tracer Buttgate and how wrong they were in hindsight, looking at, like, the entire Overwatch Gooner sphere.
End of a conversation isn't messing with you. You can't know whether they mean what they say or are only arguing as though they mean what they say. An entire debate.
Yeah, but Marvel Rivals is kind of dying down, and Overwatch is kind of picking up because Blizzard is actually, like, locking in and taking their competition. Like, Blizzard's the kind of company that when they have no real competition, they sleep and they just start getting shit. And the second they have real competition, they start locking in. And it might take them an expansion or an update or two, but they'll lock in. And they'll deliver something good when it matters and there's real competition. They did it with WoW when FF14 started to really stomp WoW. And now they're doing it with Overwatch now that Marvel Rivals came along and stomped Overwatch. So, like, oh shit, we need to lock in, like, now. And they have. And all my buddies I know that, like, switched from Overwatch 2 to Marvel Rivals are now back on Overwatch, and they don't play Marvel Rivals anymore. So that's definitely something. Believe me, Rivals is also picking up. If you've seen Emma Snow, then you know exactly why it's picking up. I know that the Gooners are definitely down for it. Don't get me wrong, it's never going to die or whatever, but I think Overwatch will likely end up overtaking it in the end. Particularly the staying power, I think, of Overwatch over Marvel. Marvel's kind of in a meh era right now in a lot of ways, and I feel like, I don't know. I haven't played much Marvel Rivals. It looks fun, but I hear Overwatch is locked in, and so I think Overwatch will probably keep the throne more likely than anything. This is a stupid stun lock, but yeah.
Debates may just be a single person stirring the pot. Such a community will naturally attract people who enjoy argument for its own sake, and will naturally trend towards the most extreme version of any opinion. In short, this is the free marketplace of ideas. No code of ethics.
Let's
no
go!
mores, no accountability. A Darwinist petri dish where ideas roam free and only the strong ones survive. If the community agrees Bebop is better than Ava, well then I guess Bebop is better than Ava because there wasn't any outside influence polluting the discourse. Granted, it could just be a lot of people thought it was funny to shit on Ava, but it's what the community has decided, so it will at least be treated as truth. This demands that one be both highly opinionated and to assume opinions are bullshit, to place a high premium on consensus, and be intensely distrustful of groupthink. A common means of straddling these lines is what I call the Stanislavski opinion. The opinion you entertain so completely that you functionally believe it while you express it, no matter the possibility that you will express, and to an extent believe, an opposite opinion later. Most of us go through a phase in our youth.
So damn, it's just really like there's a psychological phenomenon in what conservatives do. It's not just lying. It is a sunk cost fallacy motivated cope mechanism. That's really interesting.
Where we're online and like the idea of believing in something, but don't know what to believe just yet. So we pick a position and find out if we believe it by defending it. We try on ideologies like sunglasses off a rack. Now, most of us will eventually settle on a belief system, and this will usually involve some apologies and some comments we wish we could scrub from the internet, but it's an important stage of growing up. But some percentage of people will seek out a space where there is no embarrassment, the comments scrub themselves, and never growing out of the Stanislavski opinion is actively rewarded. There, figuring out what you believe would make your ability to argue less flexible. And besides, if you believed anything unironically, much of the community would still assume you're trolling. Where no one is bound by their word, what really is the difference between appearing to have an opinion and having one?
And this is what's been so destructive about Elon buying Twitter, is he's turned Twitter into 4chan in this way, where it's like all the radical Nazis are like, yeah, Nazi posts everywhere, and all the people in between are like, hey, it's probably just trolling or being edgy, right? Especially when the same accounts posting Nazi stuff will just post like a random apolitical meme that'll go viral, and the next post will be a Nazi thing, apolitical meme that goes viral, Nazi thing, and it makes it feel like, it's probably just a meme, right?
Sincerity is unprovable and open to interpretation. Decide someone is sincere if you want to make fun of them. Decide they're trolling if you want to make fun of someone else. What is true? What do you want to be true? It's easy enough to start thinking of one's own opinions the same way. What do I believe? What is advantageous to believe? Your answer isn't binding. You'll change it later if you need to. The person I'm describing, you spend time online, you'll meet him a lot. His name is Schrodinger's douchebag. Borrowed observation number 3, link in the down there part. A guy who says offensive things and decides whether he was joking based on the reaction of people around him. Any website that lacks effect.
This has gotten to be a lot less common, I feel, since the right has kind of dominated most online outlets and kind of posted this false bravado of like owning all culture and that they are the number one. And in a way they are, but not as completely as they like to boast. And so they don't really play this game as much anymore, where they do the whole like, yeah, we don't really believe it. They're a lot more open with it about the fact that it's all about supporting Trump, for instance.
Moderation and allows some level of anonymity will, to varying degrees, approximate 4chan and be overrun with Schrodinger's douchebag. Now, this type of person defends, for instance, rape jokes by saying all humor is inherently punching down because there must be a butt to every joke. He hasn't thought about it. He assumes it's true because he figures he's a smart guy and whatever he assumes is probably right, but he's unfazed if you prove otherwise. There's no shortage of dodgy reasons he might be right and you wrong. He'll just pick another one. What matters is the game continues. The thing is, Bob, it's not that they're lying, it's that they just don't care. I'll say that again for the cheap seats. When they make these kinds of arguments, they legitimately do not care whether the words coming out of their mouths are true. If they cared, before they said something is true, they would look it up. So it's kind of funny, right? How many of these folks self-identify as rationalists? I mean, typical rational thinking would say, if I am presented with the truth, I will believe it. And once I believe it, I will defend it in argument. This is not that. This is a different idea of rationality that views it not as a practice, but as an innate quality one either possesses or lacks, like being blonde or left-handed. If I'm arguing it, I must believe it because I'm a rational person. And if I believe it because I'm a rational person, it must be true. You speak assuming you're right, and should you take a new position, this telescopes out into a whole new set of beliefs with barely a thought. Stay focused on the argument, you won't even notice it's happening. You might now conclude that the internet reactionary believes in nothing except winning arguments with liberals. And like Newtonian physics, if you assume this framing, you will get high...
So at the time of this video's production, people were starting to think, like, man, a lot of conservatives are well-meaning people who've just been fooled, and they've fallen out, and they can be argued out of their incorrect positions if you present them with the correct evidence, information, and make the right arguments to appeal to them. But as time went by, you would argue with the occasional conservative so brain-rotted and so... It was always the ones who you could just kind of detect a sarcastic air to everything they say, you know? You ever hear a conservative speak? Like Nick Fuentes is a good example. Don't think about anything else in regards to Nick Fuentes other than the way he talks. The cadence and tone he hits. Doesn't it almost sound like he's making a sarcastic remark in response to, like, a question with every sentence and word he delivers? It's a very intentional vibe that conservatives try to put off because it's uniquely enraging to people that are smart and do know the truth. When the wrong person who is reaching a big audience with his wrongness is smug and sarcastic and smarmy on top of it, it's even more triggering to those that are not smarmy, smug, wrong assholes. And he wants to trigger people because it gives him the reaction that his career so fervently relies on, right? And so a lot of conservatives used to do this, but nowadays it's much less frequent. You don't get as much of this, like, hiding of what's truly believed and pretending to be an ideology or not, because so much of the right-wing movement these days has become about defending Trump regardless of what he does because he's Trump. Back then, it was a lot easier to believe maybe these people are still just too far gone. You know, maybe these, like, smarmy, sarcastic cunts are not liars. But as you encounter more of these people, you would start to realize, man, it's really hard to get through to some of these people. They'll lie to your face about things you know are a lie. You know they know it's a lie just to try to win the argument. It doesn't feel like they want to have a productive conversation or that they even truly believe what they argue because they pretend not to believe what they do or whatever. Like, this was really common back then. And it's gotten more and more common now to the point where Trump will do something like nuke the economy as he has right now. We're seeing record drops in the market. And a year ago, Trump's saying, if the economy ever drops to this amount, the sitting president should be impeached. And now it's all about how the market behaves crazily sometimes. You just can't control it. They've flipped. They've completely flipped to defending the economy being wrecked when they were just attacking it being in its best place ever because Biden was the one in charge. And now we've gotten to the point where I feel it's undeniable that a lot of these conservatives do in fact believe in nothing other than the right must win, Trump must win, liberals must cry. That is their only motivations.
Highly useful results. If you enter conversation with Engelbert and Charlemagne believing they do not mean what they say, they are only entertaining notions, and on a long enough timeline they will eventually defend a position fundamentally incompatible with the one they defended earlier in the same argument, you will navigate that conversation much more effectively. But, like Newtonian physics, this framing is lowercase a accurate, without being capital T true. In reality, nihilism isn't that popular. People will tell you, I don't care about anything, I just like triggering the libs. But why is it always libs? It is piss easy, and also hilarious, to upset conservatives. Why only go after the SJWs? The simple answer is, well, if you upset a feminist, you might make him cry. If you upset a Nazi, he might stab you.
And also, let's be real, the profit. Like, this has become more blatantly clear over time. If you upload a raging, like, feminist, mad about Trump winning compilation video, that's gonna get more views and make more money than MAGA cope after Trump lost videos will. And cover every basis of culture war, and that stays true. So for a lot of the culture people online whose income relies on viewership and popularity, they're going to go with what they know works, which is attacking groups that most of the internet has very comfortably decided we all make fun of. People with blue hair and pronouns and piercings, and people with pronouns that aren't male or man or woman. Like there are just easy targets for easy views, and those that want that build internet culture are usually large figures seeking out easy views and easy clout, and they're the ones who proliferate this kind of stuff even further.
And that has a cooling effect. But the more obvious answer is that they actually agree with the racist MRA and TERF talking points they repeat, but would rather not think about it. So much of conservative rhetoric is about maintaining ignorance of one's own beliefs, to uphold the institution of imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy while thinking you are none of those things. Well, okay, knowing you're a capitalist, but thinking it's a good thing. Most people have a baseline of fairly conventional kindergarten morality, and conservatism often clashes with it. You can rationalize these contradictions. I'm not a bigot, I just believe in states' rights. But as American conservatism gets more radical, it gets harder to square one's politics with what one assumes to be one's beliefs. So you learn when someone challenges you to cycle through beliefs until something sticks. Just play your hand and trust that you're right. Or, in extreme cases, insist you have no beliefs at all, you're just here to watch the world burn. But they're not. They are willing participants in the burning of only certain parts. They don't care what they believe, but they know what they hate, and they don't want to think about why they hate it. On paper, they believe in freedom of religion and freedom of expression, but they also hang out in communities where Muslims and trans women are punching bags. And like a 6th grader who believes one thing in Sunday school and another thing in biology class, they believe different things at different times. This flexibility of belief is fertile ground for far-right recruitment. I'd say the jury is out on whether Chan boards attract far-right extremists or are built to attract far-right extremists, but they're where extremists congregate and organize because they're where extremists are tolerated, and where they blend in with the locals. They learn the lingua franca of performative irony. Say what you mean in such a way that people who disagree think you're kidding, and people who agree think you're serious. People who don't know what they believe, but clearly have some fascist leanings, don't need to be convinced of Nazi rhetoric. They just need to be submerged in it and encouraged to hate liberals. They'll make their way right on their own. Folks start using extremist rhetoric because it wins. And be sure to be clear, the hating liberals thing is so core to it. So much of the right-wing movement right now, and so much of the culture of the internet right now, is about how bad liberals are and how we hate liberals. They're so evil, evil liberals, evil. Like, that's so much of the culture right now. And so for a lot of these people, they can skate by on not making an honest argument or engaging honestly with their opposition, as long as they pass off their engagement, their dishonest engagement with the left, as just trolling those triggerable libs for the fun of it, right? And then, of course, you get the people. We just read the comments in the Quarterings video of all the people saying they're going to buy his scam coffee just to trigger the libs, even though they don't drink coffee. Or even the guy who said, money's tight and I don't have money to spend, but I'm going to buy a thing of your coffee strawberry packs just to own those libs. It's like, that's how these people are so dedicated to lib hate. They will cut into their own tight finances and give a conservative millionaire money if they think it'll make a lefty a little bit sad. That is how dedicated to hating the libs these people are. And it works. It works. Having such a dedicated culture around, like, owning your opposition creates
a lot of motivation to spread your ideas and fight your opposition.
Arguments with SJWs, usually because that's the moment the SJW decides it's not fruitful and possibly unsafe talking to you. And this creates the appearance that if it keeps winning arguments, there must be something to it. The far right literally has handbooks on how to do this. Those who don't consciously embrace the ideology, who don't transition from participating to getting recruited, are still useful. They spread the rhetoric, they pad the numbers, and often participate in harassment and sometimes even violence. There's a twisted elegance to all this. Think about it. If you operate as though there is no truth, just competing opinions, and as though opinions aren't sincere, just tools to be picked up and dropped depending on their utility, then what are you operating under? Self-interest. The desire to win. You'll defend the Holocaust just to feel smarter than someone. Superior. Think how beautifully that maps onto the in-group, out-group mentality of dominance and bigotry, and think how incompatible it is with liberal ideas of tolerance. I think this is why we don't see a lot of these "I'm just here to fuck shit up" types on the left. Don't get me wrong, the left has gotten on some bullshit, but excepting politicians whom you should never assume mean anything they say, it's sincerely believed bullshit. We don't build identities around saying things just to piss people off. The takeaway from all this is not only that you can't tell the difference between a bigot who doesn't know they're a bigot and a bigot who knows but won't tell you, but that there is no line dividing the two. When some guy in the middle of a harassment campaign says the victims should be nicer to their harassers because that will mend the rift, I don't know if he believes it. But in that moment, he believes it. And that scares the shit out of me. But if you're asking how many layers of irony he's on as compared with the actual harassers, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't matter. Borrowed observation number 4 is we are what we pretend to be.
And there we are. The Card Says Moops. One of my favorite episodes of this series, though the next one might be my favorite, if not second favorite, so I'm super hyped for the next alt-right playbook that we watch, because that's going to be a real good one. I always love how somehow these episodes tie in really well with, like, the theme of what we've been covering in the stream around it. Like, it's actually wild how much the like, commentary applies. And it's, to be fair, it's always talking about some tendency of the right, and so what it's talking about is going to apply to any conservative fuckery we've talked about that day in some manner. But it just feels like it fits the theme of the stream. Like, it's a shared theme among most or all the topics and the people we're talking about, and then we get the video kind of analyzing the tendencies on, like, a very deep level. I love this series. It's so good. It's so fucking good. And if you're not already watching the alt-right playbook by Innuendo Studios, you're missing out. You should go subscribe, you should go leave a like, and you should go comment. It is very worth. And mind you, there is a link to the original video down below in the description as always. So, if you also want to support me, consider dropping a like and a comment on my video or my stream. It really does help a lot. Every comment and like is forcing YouTube to push my content to more people who've never seen my stuff before, so it really does help. And of course, you can subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube tells you when I go live or upload in the future. And don't forget to follow my social medias linked down below in the description, including my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, fan Discord, all that good stuff. I actually host gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights in my Discord every week. And I announce all my new uploads and streams, so if YouTube bugs out, at least Discord will tell you when I'm active. And finally, if you want to support me directly, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or maybe buy some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.